far in the future to think that this might play out, but things have sort of been following these projections pretty well. So I'm thinking that if the ES would break below this angular support line, this orange one that I have in my chart here with some decent momentum, take out these lows set earlier today, then we might see price actually test these lows that were set on the 26th of June. And that could potentially just be an A, a B, a C of some sort, and then at a later stage get another move back to the upside. So that's the thinking. I'm still bullish on the ES. Right, so what might be an indication that price has indeed ended a correction? Well, I would like to see price break up above this angled median line over here, break above these highs, obviously, and I think that'll be a good indication that price has potentially ended a correction. That being said, this might have been the end of correction, and this was just a 1, a 2, and price is making its way up again. But again, I'm not going to go too much into or think too much about things. I really want to see how the market reacts to Wednesday CPI numbers. Right, so those are the angular levels to look at. So yeah, and obviously we'll recap things on Wednesday and see where the market's at when we have our next session. NASDAQ, on the other hand, for those that are new to the profits at noon, you can also see in this case, we had an area where price tried to get through an angular resistance area, basically ran into it once, twice, 3 times, beautifully ticked it and moved back to the downside again. Now, this is a projection that I've drawn in on, when was this, last week? So potentially on the NASDAQ, also thinking that price might be gunning towards these lows that were set on the 27th of June. Price being below today's pivot point, 50,241.5. Already reached S1, 15,123.25, and looks like it's now going to hit S2, which is very close to 50,054, somewhere around there. So again, we have a bit of support down to the downside here at this median line over here. We also look at angular resistance and support from my pitchforks, sometimes channels, depending on which of these work better for the conditions or the price structure, what it's been following. But we see a strong break below S2 that I think price could potentially reach this median line here, maybe today, tomorrow, whatever the case might be. And that's around 14,980. Let's call it about 15,000. So yeah, same thing here on the NASDAQ, thinking that we could potentially still be moving lower in a part of a C wave of a larger zigzag correction. So still on the ES and NASDAQ, thinking that whatever's happening here is just an incomplete correction with more upside to potentially follow at a later stage. Right, and then this brings us to the Dow. We've had also here an instance where price sort of bounced at an angular support area a few times, and then on Friday also just a little bit of a move back to the upside, and then immediately a decline downwards again. So price nearly touched this angular support line here, which is a median line also from my pitchfork. Had a strong bounce to the upside. Price opened below today's pivot point at, what was that, 34,042, and has just taken out or just reached R1 at 34,168, and it looks like it wants to make its way back down to the downside again. Different price structure though on the Dow here, where the ES and NASDAQ hasn't broken these lows that were set on the 27th of June. The Dow has done that already. All right, so whether this is the end of it or price actually still going to move lower, we'll obviously have to wait and see. We can't really forecast that. So again, we really have to be patient here and see what's going to happen when these CPI numbers come out on Wednesday. This brings us to the Russell. Russell, on the other hand, just fell short of these lows are printed. This was actually on the 26th as well. Yeah. So found support here at the cent median line of this pitchfork sloping to the upside. And then we had a very strong bounce back upwards again. All right. So, yeah, price already took out R1, which is at 1898.2. Nearly made it to today's projected range high deviation at 1907.5. But this might just be a correction, maybe an ABC with another leg lower to follow. So again, with price falling so short of these previous lows, you know, was this a one to the upside? Failed to take out these highs around mid-June. A second wave and the next wave to the upside started. Really difficult to say, but also bullish on the Russell, just not, you know, won't be 100% sure, just don't know if this move is done yet to the downside. I think if we see a break of these higher lows over here, which is around today's projected range low at 1864.9, then I think we will probably see that decline to finally break these lows that were set on the 26th of June. Right, and that brings me to gold. Gold, on the other hand, at a nice strong rally to the upside, failed to break. This was on Friday, obviously. Failed to break these highs. It was set on, when was this? On the 5th of July. And this after, remember, this declining, what I still think could have been an ending diagonal. You know, was this a first move to the upside? Is this just corrective and we can see another move back up again? Gold will very likely be influenced by the CPI numbers as well. So if this is a higher low, obviously would only be confirmed if price would take out these highs here. So I'm thinking what potentially we could be seeing after price, you know, before it broke out of this ending diagonal, is that we're potentially seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a leading diagonal. This here looks like a three-wave move to me, which makes me think, especially after this strong decline, that this might have been a wave one, and it was an A, a B, a C of an expanding flat, and that the next wave higher might be building up now at the moment. So that being said, even if price does move higher in gold, I'm still viewing this as corrective in nature, i.e. that price might retrace a decent portion of this very strong decline that started here towards the beginning of May. All right, so from the levels to lock perspective, let me just get rid of that for retracement level. Price has sort of been flat, hovering around today's pivot point at 1929 spot something. Almost made it to S1. That was just before I actually deleted a 61.8 retracement of this move to the upside. So I think if price were to clear today or tomorrow these previous highs here, that the next wave to the upside potentially started. Again, reading this as potentially corrective in nature with potential more downside at a later stage. So that's the thinking. Again, we'll recap everything again on Wednesday and see how things have played out after these numbers are released. All right, so it brings us lastly to crude oil before I look at the pure pattern trader. Again, you guys probably been following what I've been saying here in crude for a while, thinking that we might be dealing with a descending triangle, but with this strong pump back to the upside, it could potentially technically still be, but price would need to stay below this high over here, which I labeled as an A. Now it's just starting to look a bit more like a range, doesn't it? So, you know, price reaches the top of a range, we see a decline. Price reaches the bottom of the range, we see a jump back to the upside again. So very difficult to say what's going on in crude here. Obviously, there was talks of the Saudis that's going to start limiting production. But we had previous instances like that, where especially during this period over here, where price opened all the way back to the upside, they were saying they're going to cut production, and we had an immediate reversal back to the downside again. So who knows? If we do see a failure here and price start moving strongly to the downside, I'm going to stay with this count. That might potentially be a C wave. and that we might still be stuck in this range for a longer period of time. So price being above today's pivot point, that was at 72.93, or still is at 72.93, also sort of been stuck in a bit of a range. Might make it to R1 at 74.66, but again, who knows? If we do see a failure here, it's very close to these previous highs, then I will still, stay with the thinking that this might be an incomplete triangle of some sort. But the shape of it's definitely starting to look more of a range-bound market, right? Or something else going on here. So maybe an ABC, X, ABC that takes out these highs, and then we get a decline. That could also potentially be what's going on. So again, we'll recap things. That's obviously why we have these sessions as well. We're trying to keep on top of price behavior. If things do change according to what the counts are, then so be it. The market's always right. So as long as you just keep your finger on the pulse of things, then, and the willingness to obviously change your mind, then that's 100% fine. So bigger picture, still think that crude oil can make it lower. In the short run, maybe lower. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's it for the analysis side of things. Guys, if you've got any questions on that side, please feel free to ask, drop it there in the chat, and then Nathan will relay them to me, or I will address them for you guys. Anything about the analysis, then please let me know. I see there's a lot of new names in today's session, which is always great to see. Again, if some of the analysis is a little bit at the top of your, flying over your head, that's 100% fine. We do just ask that you just join us again in the next session, and then I think all of this will start making sense. From the analysis point, we use market geometry. I use a bit of pattern analysis, sequence analysis, as well as our levels to lock. So trying to get a little bit more of a directional forecast for you guys as well. All right. Absolutely not. No. All good. Yeah, cool. I hope you guys can see my screen here. I pulled up the Pure Pattern Trader. You can probably, awesome. On the left-hand side here, we got our user interface. It's basically a tool suite that looks at and that identifies all these sort of different patterns that most traders are familiar with. We got, if you hover over on the left-hand side here, we got double top, double bottom formations, triple top, triple bottoms, head and shoulders. We got cup and handle formations that I really like with the software, rectangles, we got flags, ascending and descending triangles, as well as symmetrical triangles. So you can open this over here. You got all of these settings that you can go through, really to, adjust it to the type of trading you like doing. You probably noticed that I'm set here on a 1 minute time frame. It's behind this user interface at the moment, but I've set my swing strength to very small. I do like using this to get in and out of the markets as quick as possible. I like using it like with a bit of a scalping mindset, if that makes sense. I've also recorded four or five, I think it was 5 at that time, live trading videos where I traded the Pure Pattern Trader live, and also just running through, how I spot these opportunities, as well as the settings that I go through. And very importantly, also, I like to enter these markets. I like trading 2 contracts in most of these markets, depending on what the risk is on any particular setup. And then, yeah, so that's also available for you guys if you're interested in the software. That being said, you can see all of this menu here. If you click on it and collapse it, you can go through all of these different settings. I pretty much just use the default settings. And basically what the software does, what I mentioned now, is that it basically identifies all of these formations on your chart for whatever time frame or whatever market you want to be looking at. So we also have a market analyzer that we use as our scanner, which is also really cool. So you don't really have to be glued to your screen all day long. That being said, if you look at a very small time frame, you might get instances where, you know, you get a lot of these patterns unfolding. So there's also alerts that's in that you can enable here. So what it normally would do, now I like doing this, is, for example, if you were to look at, let's say, I'm going to show you something happened here on crude on today, which was really cool, that you'll see a green sort of box pitching up here, and it'll tell you that it's either, in this case, let's look at gold, for example, there's a cup formation, or ascending or descending triangle, or a double top or double bottom. And these little numbers over here is basically how many candles back that formation has basically, you know, appeared on the chart. So this is all done in real time. It doesn't happen after the fact. You see, I also got a scanner built in for 3 minutes. Again, you can basically set up the scanner the way you like it. But just quickly, earlier today, I was been trading crude oil. Actually, I've been looking at crude oil. I was still doing a few more of our videos for the Pure Pattern Trader, some new ones that I want to make. But in any case, crude oil here had this box appear here on the green 1 minute time frame, and we had ascending and descending triangles appear all over the show. So what I would like to do is, as soon as my market scanner for whatever market I follow, the NASDAQ, gold, ES, or crude oil, either 1 minute or 3 minute time frame. Once a alert gets generated, I quickly go over to the chart and I click on the corresponding pattern that the scanner has identified. So yes, just a great example of what I've been looking today in crude oil. I sort of stepped in around an office way early my time because I'm in South Africa. You guys only, you know, sort of midday where you guys are at today. So I traded the Globex session, and you can see that all of these patterns here were basically ascending, descending triangles, and they were all identified as price validated them, or let's say they were validated by the software, and then the pattern would pop up. So you can see there's quite a few of them. There's actually 2 here. There's another bigger one over here, and price started making its way back to the upside. So like I mentioned, I'm a bit bullish on crude oil until like where price was at recent levels. On the bigger picture, you've seen on Profit at Noon analysis. So what I quite like about the software, especially during trending conditions, my favorite patterns are definitely these ascending and descending triangles, as well as the cup and handle patterns. So as soon as a pattern has been identified, it will automatically throw you a validation level as well as an invalidation level. And that's definitely an area where you can then go place a buy order, in this case in a bullish scenario, with a sell order or your stop loss at the invalidation areas. So very quickly on the fly, visually, because I'm a very visual trader myself, as you've probably seen you with the market geometry that I do, you immediately know where you can get in and where you can place your stop loss as well. And also, very importantly, know what the risk would be involved from the distance of the entry to where that invalidation level is. Sometimes if these patterns, you know, form and they generate a pattern where your invalidation level is way down here, for example, let's say your validation level was way up here, and you have something like, let's say, 20 or 40 ticks between where you could potentially enter and your stop loss, that will be too big for me to take risk, because I like to trade with 2 contracts. So what I'll do in instances like that, for example, is maybe trade the micro contract, whatever the case might be. So very, very flexible there with regards to the markets you can trade. But again, very, very easy to quickly on the fly get alerted that these opportunities exist. As you can see, there are none at the moment on my market analyzer. But as soon as they do pop up, they can appear on any one of these patterns. So when I right click here, You see that it's green at the moment. If I would say click on it again, it turns orange. And what it will do is it'll take the historical ones away and just leave the one that formed most recently. All right. So there's obviously different ways. I don't just trade all the patterns. I want to look at market structure, all that sort of stuff to make sure if I really want to be long or short. It's just different things you can look at. Sometimes you want to look at divergence, for example. So if you, for example, see a bullish move, but prices, maybe you're looking at momentum divergence and you're starting to see bullish divergence or bearish divergence, then, potentially you don't want to get into a trade. So again, all of these are covered in those live trading sessions that I did. When you then right click on these again, they go away if all of them are red. And they also appear historically. So for example, I click on the cup and handle, for example, you can see that there were also cup and handle formations. And also we have these target projections, which are typically slightly more. I won't say typically, it really depends on the formation of the actual pattern, but they quite often a one-to-one, a little bit more profit potential than where you place your stop loss if you were to use the invalidation level. So you can see here also beautiful instances where we had a cup and handle formation here. Price breaks out of the formation. I quite often like to see a retracement back to the area. So you have a breakout, a retracement. And sometimes within 1 minute, you just got to accept that the market might just, move too quickly for you to get in. Again, depends on what time frame you want to be trading from. But it's just really cool how uncannily price actually reaches these target areas. So again, we have, what was this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different patterns that the pure pattern trader automatically finds for you and does all the heavy lifting for you, as well as that market scanner that really makes it easy for you to whatever time frame and market you're looking at to spot those opportunities for you. Then if you do like me trade multiple markets, I can quickly just go and glance at those patterns, click on the corresponding pattern that was identified by the scanner, and then see if I actually want to trade it or not. And then, yeah, get into the market or decide to stay on the sidelines. So very, very, very powerful software. It's probably one of my most favorite ones out of the tool suites that we do have on offer here at Ninjacators. So yeah, it's not really too much else to say rather than, yeah, rather than being stuck to your screen all day long, this can really, really, make your life a little bit easier by spotting these opportunities for you. So that's pretty much it from the Pure Pattern Trader Spotlight today. Guys, you got any questions, please let me know. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any others popping up at the moment, but Murphy's Law, there's none at the moment. So that's pretty much it from my side. John, do you have the Pure Pattern Trader? If not, then there is a video in the members area when you set these things up. Not the live trading videos I've done. I just pretty much looked at trading the markets using the software. But if you are not a member, there is, oh, you didn't see it. Okay. I can quickly look at that for you. So what you'll do is you're going to go to new, you go and click on market scanner. Maybe I can duplicate this for you quickly. All right. You want to right click on your instruments. Let's, for example, put gold in there. Okay. You want to go in columns by right clicking again. Go to columns over here. And what it will do is actually bring up, either your bid ask prices, all the stuff that's normally built into your market analyzer. But you should then go to your Ninjacators folder by double clicking on it. And then you have a Pure Pattern Trader Scanner 1. If you double click on that, you will add it to the bottom here. You can go set your swing settings, whatever time frame you want to look at. You want to see lots of them or fewer of them. Also depends on what time frame you're trading from. If you hit apply, it will pop up in the right hand side here. So that's exactly what I did with this one over here, but I instead got rid of the bid and ask prices and all that stuff, so there's not too much clutter. And yeah, so basically just deleted that. You can go into the columns here again, just click on columns. You can go delete all of this if you don't want that. For example, you have to have your instrument, Pure Pattern Scanner 1, you've got a Scanner 2 as well, and then Bob's your uncle.
Perfect. Looks like that was helpful for John, so glad we got to cover that. John, if you have any follow-up on that, don't hesitate to let us know. If you ever have any questions outside of these sessions, you can always reach us, support at ninjacators.com, or grab that phone number on the website. But it looks like we have another question coming through from Michael, and he has a question about the E-mini predictive. Which, Richard, I think you are also qualified to give him a hand here. So he says, you may only be taking questions on the systems. No problem. We'll take this question. I have the E-mini predictive, and it has speed of tape. I don't understand how it works at all. There's a video too, but it has left me baffled. So do you think we can straighten this out a little bit for Michael today?
Yeah, Michael. So you're basically looking at tick data. So firstly, you need to have tick data. Some of the data providers might not have that, for example. But I believe since you do have the system that you probably, do see the signals come in. So if you do see the signals come in, then you obviously have tick data from your data provider. So what the E-mini predictive trader basically looks at, it's like a really old school. I think there were books written about this a very long time ago about looking at the tick and trend data for the New York Stock Exchange, I think for the Dow, and what's the other one, the NASDAQ. So you're basically looking at an aggregate of your tick data for almost like you said, a speed of tape, amount of buyers, amount of sellers. So what quite often happen here is that it creates a range. It looks very busy on a chart, to be dead honest with you. So it's something you either decide to look at or not, but the thinking is like, let's say, for example, you trading the ES, all right, and you're on the NASDAQ and on the Dow and on New York Stock Exchange, you have all your tick data at very high extremes. You quite often get a reversion back to the downside again. So that's quite often then, let's say, when the market's moving up, all your tick data is, at its extremes to the upside, that you get these signals that's generated. And then quite often you get a reversal to the downside again. So that in short is how I can explain it to you without having to actually show it, if that makes sense. Otherwise I could also have a look at the E-mini predictive trader potential next week for you guys when we do our next tool spotlight, if that's okay, if you want to see that. And you say the part of the system I'm comfortable with, but the specific speed of tape supporting the indicator has left me a little baffled.
Sure.
Yeah, there's definitely, for me to be dead honest, a little bit of subjectivity involved in, I don't know if you watch those videos, not from the trading side, the ones I've done, but actually the setup. So you need to manually go into the NYSE, the Dow and all that, bring up those tick charts, and then literally go look at what the ranges has been at the upper extremes and the lower extremes. Pull in a line there and then go manually go and set those settings where the extremities or the lower extremities are supposed to be. And if they too narrow, these ranges, and you quite often, let's say, for example, everyone's waiting for the CPI data or something like that. You might have a few days leading into that news release where these ranges are very small. When volatility picks up, for example, and you've got those settings set at those ranges for the upper limit and your lower limit, and you have a lot of volatility stepping in, these ranges will be broken to the upside and downside, pretty much all over the place on all of these different tick data markets. And then when that happens, then you're going to have too many signals pop up all over the time. So part of what I would call your prep for the day or the homework you should be doing is look at, for example, the last 5 days of tick data for each one of these markets, and then go and define, the upper and the lower limit. So which areas of these wicks of these tick candles, do they reach these upper limits or not, or lower limits, or just call it limits? So it's difficult for me to explain just by using my words here, but it's definitely, for me, a very important part of using the E-mini Predictive Trader. You need to go in manually each day. I don't know if you're trading day trading, scalping, or whatever the case might be, that you go and define those ranges, and they will change. And then you also have to go into the settings of the actual indicator and then adjust them accordingly, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing that question with us, Michael. I'm glad we're able to get into that. And it sounds like we're due for a tool spotlight on the E-mini Predictive. So if that's something that's in the cards for us, Richard, let's get it on deck for next week.
And then we can definitely do that on Monday, Michael. So this one will be for you.
Perfect. And just so you're aware, and everybody, actually, this goes for everybody here, if there's ever, an instance where you can't make a live session, we do simulcast these over on our YouTube channel. As soon as these broadcasts conclude, they are automatically populated into a specific Profits at Noon playlist. So if you head over to the Ninjacators YouTube at any point, you can always grab a replay of any sessions you missed or anything you want to revisit. So we will have the E-mini Predictive on deck for Monday of next week. So... And it looks like John is following up, says, awesome, set up my scanner now. So very cool.
Done. Well done.
Awesome. This was a productive tool spotlight for sure.
Yeah, right.
Well, obviously, we want to make some more room for any other questions you may have. And looks like, Michael, Monday you'll be here. Perfect. Excellent.
Awesome.
It looks like there may be another thought coming through on that. But yeah, absolutely. We will see you Monday next week. We're doing tool spotlights every Monday. And as you can see here, we are happy to respond to your feedback and your requests. So if you're ever in these sessions and if you're in a situation or a pickle like Michael is, and you say, hey, give me a hand here, Richard, Nate, can you give me a tool spotlight? We'll be happy to do so. But leaving some room here for any further questions you may have. Don't hesitate to share them while we're all here together live. Price Flow Pro. We have done some tool spotlights on those in the past too, so I imagine that will be cropping up again at some point in the future. So be on the lookout for that as well.
All right, I'll be happy to address those questions for you. Let's just get the E-mini Predictive Trader under the belt.
Sure.
And then I can then definitely look at the Price Flow Pro system after that for you.
Perfect. Well, I would say, I'm trying to remember when the last time we would have done it, or
this is why we need our little calendar.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Remember which day we did do this. So
we do put the tool spotlights are in the title of every video that they are featured in. So it is labeled. I just don't know off the top of my head. I apologize, Michael, when the last time that would have popped up. But if we covered it here, it's definitely in that playlist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And quick shout out to our crew over on YouTube on the simulcast. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to chime in. And just so you're aware, if you'd like to join us here directly in Zoom in what we call the VIP section with the bottle service, check the description beneath the video. There is a link to get registered for these sessions, receive reminders, etc. We'd love to have you here. Or if you're happy where you're at, that's fine too. So,
yeah, Michael, so it should be under our Ninjacators YouTube channel. I think even if you go and click on the live tab there, it brings up all the the past Profits at Noon sessions. So I'm not 100% sure which one it will be. It's actually, I think it's been a while back, to be honest with you.
Sure. Yeah, so all the more reason to dust it off again in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
So be on
That's
the
why we
lookout.
do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, if anyone else has any other questions for us before we head out the door here today, again, feel free to fire away. It's fine. If something comes up later, you can always reach out to us, support@ninjacators.com. There's a phone number plastered all over the website. You can even see it there at the top of the page. We'll always be happy to help. We always have a customer service ninja on deck and ready to assist. So don't hesitate to reach out to us at any point. And again, I will share it one more time as well, our link today that will get you a $500 savings on the Pure Pattern Trader. This is the special launch or promo price. If you're on our email list, you'll know we run little promos here and there. But outside of those promos, you can't get these prices unless you're here with us. So that works out if you're in the Profits at Noon crew. So hang on to that link. Check that out. Definitely encourage you to take advantage of it. And, of course, we will be back on Wednesday. And I believe we have a very special guest in Craig Hill on deck this week. So that should be exciting as well.
Did he say Thursday, wasn't it?
You know, I'll have to look. It depends on whether I'm checking now to see our robot lab actually is on Thursday. So I apologize. Craig will be here on Thursday. So we'll have Craig Hill later to close out the week with us and some updates on the robot lab portfolio there.
Great stuff, Michael. Always great to hear that someone had a profitable day. Also all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, if we don't have any more questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. As mentioned, we'd love to see all of you back with us on Wednesday. The familiar faces, the new faces alike. It was great to have you all here with us today. In the meantime, of course, we hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll be back on deck to follow up on today's analysis on Wednesday. And as mentioned, Craig Hill back in the house on Thursday to close out the week. Absolutely. You're very welcome, Hal. As always, absolute pleasure to have you here with us. Wouldn't be the same without
Hal.
you.
Thanks for the questions, guys. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We love to engage. We love to take these questions. So awesome stuff. Well, thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Richard, for your time and the insights. We're going to go ahead and pack up for today and shut this thing down. But as mentioned, you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out, grab the replays on our YouTube, and we will see you all again on Wednesday at noon Eastern Time for another edition of Profits at Noon. Thanks, guys and
everyone.
gals.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.